Russian forces advanced toward the city, using 6 vehicles for the assault. In these conditions, the terrain made it easier to set a mine trap, with dense tree growth on one side, buildings on the other, and a single accessible road. The area was well suited for an ambush. In this case, kamikaze drones carried out the operation with a high degree of coordination. The first 2 vehicles passed through without incident, but the drone targeted the third vehicle, resulting in an explosion. The infantry dismounts and disperses in different directions. At the same time, artillery fire begins. The situation shifts, and Russian forces start to withdraw, but another drone strikes a vehicle. The vehicle at the rear is struck in the same manner and explodes. In Russian tanks, the shells are stored beneath the crew, at the bottom of the vehicle, which makes them vulnerable to mines. An infantry fighting vehicle attempted to advance toward Ukrainian positions. Narrow terrain like this is well suited for mine placement, with trees on one side and trench lines on the other, creating a confined approach. Russian forces launched a large tank assault involving 2 armored groups, with a total of 2 tanks and 6 armored personnel carriers. The problems began immediately as one tank collided with another, immobilizing it. The crew was forced to abandon the vehicle. The vehicle is moved aside to avoid obstructing the column. Ukrainian forces employ all available weapons, and the first results follow. The tank manages to pass through, but an armored personnel carrier is destroyed by a mine. The second armored personnel carrier becomes immobilized after advancing a short distance, and the tank then detonates on a mine. Ukrainian forces engage the abandoned armored vehicles, and a drone strikes the tank. The armored personnel carrier is targeted, followed by another, and then the tank lost at the beginning of the assault. A second drone strikes its target, igniting the ammunition. All armored vehicles involved in the attack are destroyed. Despite the earlier assault, a new Russian attack advances, consisting of a tank, 2 armored personnel carriers, another tank, and an additional APC. Reconnaissance units transmit detailed information on each target, but the column unexpectedly comes to a stop. One of the armored personnel carriers, attempting to reverse, collides with another, creating what appears to be disorganization within the column. Now it is evident that Russian forces are disoriented and retreating. A tank is stuck in the crater created by an explosion. 1 armored personnel carrier has been hit, and a second is abandoned and rolling toward Ukrainian positions. The remaining forces are attempting to buy time. The assault has failed. Ukrainian forces are clearing the abandoned vehicles. Defensive measures were ineffective, and an armored personnel carrier is destroyed by fire. The Ukrainian armored vehicle BTR-4E Bucephalus remained under cover until a Russian T-80 BV tank was detected near the Ukrainian position. The Ukrainian vehicle held its position until the Russian tank approached within firing range. The Russian tank was unaware that the Ukrainian vehicle was concealed and prepared to engage. Ukrainian forces maintained their position until the Russian tank moved into range, at which point the BTR opened fire. The tank's turret rotated uncontrollably as the crew abandoned the vehicle and fled into the nearby forest. A second strike destroyed the tank entirely, causing it to erupt in flames. Additionally, part of the infantry and the tank crew were killed in the blast. Following the tank's destruction, the Russian attempt to breach Ukrainian defenses was halted. Armored vehicles and tanks remain a primary component of offensive military operations. A Russian assault group advanced on Ukrainian Defense Forces positions in the Toretsk direction, deploying multiple units of armored vehicles for the attack. One of the enemy's armored personnel carriers was successfully struck by an FPV drone. Following the strike, the crew was forced to abandon the armored personnel carrier and flee to the nearest settlement. Some managed to board another vehicle, but it was also hit, causing the driver to lose control and crash into a nearby tree. This crew was then left to seek shelter on their own. The surviving Russian soldiers managed to abandon the vehicle just seconds before the explosion. This time, the cause was not a kamikaze drone, but a far more powerful detonation. While Russian forces circled the outskirts searching for cover, a tank arrived to support the Ukrainian drone operators, targeting both the vehicles and the buildings where enemy infantry had taken shelter. Even if the Russian armored vehicles remained intact, they would have had little chance against a Ukrainian tank under these conditions. Once the enemy was left without the protection of heavy equipment, their only option was to seek cover and wait out the engagement. Reliance on drones was ineffective, as any targets reached by that time would have no cover, and the Ukrainian tank would likely have already withdrawn from the battlefield. The greatest error was the attempt to capture this position without adequate cover and without sufficient intelligence on Ukrainian forces in the area. For this mistake, the Russians paid the highest price, losing both personnel and equipment. In another sector, Russian forces launched an offensive with 3 armored personnel carriers and 1 tank. From the outset, the operation did not go as planned. The tank fell behind the formation after becoming stuck in the mud, and the unit immediately came under heavy fire from Ukrainian artillery. Ukrainian artillery, positioned at a considerable distance, destroyed an armored personnel carrier with a precise strike from approximately 10 kilometers. Within minutes, kamikaze drone operators continued the engagement, applying sustained pressure through repeated attacks. Ukrainian forces waited for the right moment and then launched a coordinated strike from multiple directions, with each operator engaging a specific target in the column. 2 Russian armored personnel carriers attempt to maneuver to evade the attack, but are unsuccessful. A precise drone strike halts the first vehicle, forcing the soldiers to flee into the tree line. The crew of the second APC also prepares to abandon the vehicle. This vehicle has also already been targeted by another drone operator, and both vehicles become immobilized. The final drone strike destroyed the vehicles completely. Ukrainian FPV drone pilots then targeted additional Russian vehicles one by one. Some were immobilized, while others were destroyed with a single strike. It is sometimes difficult to believe that a single kamikaze drone can cause such a massive explosion. Ukrainian forces continued to exploit this tactic, using drones to target Russian vehicles systematically. Each strike forced crews to abandon their equipment, and in many cases, destroyed the vehicles entirely. In this footage, 2 infantry vehicles advance near Ukrainian positions. The rear vehicle strikes a mine, while the lead vehicle continues moving. Its luck is short-lived, however, as it also hits a mine and explodes. Both vehicles were destroyed solely by mines. In this final footage, a Ukrainian Su-27 fighter jet carries a JDAM-guided bomb and releases it onto a building storing Russian military supplies. The mission is to destroy the structure identified by intelligence as holding the enemy's most critical equipment. The Su-27 maneuvers at altitude, approaching the target. The JDAM bomb's navigation system is programmed with the target coordinates, and its GPS guidance ensures a precise strike despite any attempts to evade or conceal the building. The bomb penetrates the structure, destroying everything within. Thank you for watching Iron Pulse Media. Subscribe to our channel to see more footage from the world's most critical conflict zones. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time on Iron Pulse Media.